to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how fantastic welding in the snow is in Toyotas, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Tyler, and joining me for episode 360-something is Mr. Jimmy Something Jet. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Nice.
Yeah, better. I'm better this week. I don't know. Last week was really stressful. I don't know why, but it seems like things are better this week, and I don't know why.
Okay. You got product in last week.
I did get product in. Maybe that was the issue, is we're then trying to get all the product back out the door, and we got a bunch out the door yesterday, so I'm feeling better about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm slightly more stressed this week, so.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
We like to trade off.
There you go.
Yeah. What do you got going on in your life that's stressful?
Just panels and trying to figure out a house and off-road building, working on a crawler in the meantime, and, just all the normal stuff,
Just life
I've got to work, please the wife, and want to do my hobby.
You don't get to do your hobby.
Yeah, right. That's where things are falling.
Yes. That's funny. Man, yeah, good stuff. Today's a Thursday episode.
Yes, it is.
Which means we get to talk about some of the fun things we've been doing. And then we'll have another Monday episode next week.
That's usually how it goes.
That's how our scheduling goes.
I'm not quite sure what we're going to do for KOH week. We haven't quite figured that out. I haven't talked about it.
I don't think we have either.
But I'll say it now. It's looking very much like I'm not going to be able to go to King of the Hammers.
Bummer.
So I just might take that responsibility upon myself of getting episodes out during that time.
There you go. I might be able to get something recorded and send it down to you.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could. I was thinking if I should bring down the Zoom recorder this week for you, just in case, if you're going to go down and do that.
Maybe. I can go around and kind of talk to some of the booths in Hammertown. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah. Somewhat like I did at Sierra Trek.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be rad.
Yeah.
Since you're not working a booth this year, you have a little bit more free time.
I do.
But yeah, so I'll bring the Zoom next week.
Okay.
And then it'll be a little bit more portable for you. Easier to walk around than carrying a battery and a road. I'm
going to make convert a baby chest harness into a Roadcaster carrying table that just folds down.
Okay.
Or front runner fold down table. There we go.
Nice. Yeah.
And I'll put that on the front of me and have it come down.
Tire gate. What is the tire gator?
Oh, the tailgater tire table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put one of those.
Figure out to strap that on you. Then you have like a mixing board in front of you and the two mics. Where are you going to put the battery?
On the back. My back is a backpack. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. I like this idea.
I do too.
I want to see it.
I'll see how it goes. Oh man. Yeah. Hammers is coming up. I mean, we're from today recording, under 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For me going down.
For you leaving.
Yeah.
And race participants are probably in a matter
Less
of
than
days, they're heading down.
Yeah. I handed off my repeater to the Wicks.
Okay.
To Ozzy.
Yeah.
So he came over. We set it up over in the parking lot here at the Morphlate warehouse and showed him how to set it all up and prove that it was working.
Nice. Good.
So he's got it now, and he's going to go down there early and set it up on top of Fisher.
Cool. Speaking of radio talk.
Ooh,
I have some radio talk.
I'm excited.
I have the radio talk.
I know. This is exciting for me. I'd never get to hear you go into radio talk.
It's very basic.
Oh, okay.
Very bland. On one of our last podcasts, when we were talking about Winter Fun Fest, I was complaining that the Yaesu radio is quiet on the second channel.
Yeah.
I've been talking to Roger about it, and I guess he has the Yaesu FTM 400, and he says he doesn't have that problem.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he asked if I was using an external mic, and I said, yeah, because my controller box is underneath the back seat of the pickup truck, right? It's an extra cab. They have those bench seats in the back, and then there's cubbies underneath those bench seats.
Yeah.
And the main head unit, or the main unit controller box, is underneath that back seat.
Yeah.
So I said I ran an external speaker up so I could hear it because I didn't want it to be like packaged away and muted. And he said, well, step one is unconnect the external speaker, listen to 2 channels and see
through the radio
and see if they're coming in
that
loud
makes
and
sense.
clear.
Okay.
So I disconnected the channel or the external speaker, and I looked at it, and it's a mono cable. Like, okay, that might answer some problems. And then I went to NOAA, like channel 7 or something, and I on both channels, and I turned one up to half or to like 3/4 of the way, and then I matched it on the second channel, and then I turned them up and down a few times, and they sounded good. So then I queued up the 805, and I said, "Hey, can I get a radio check?" And some guy came on, and he's like, "You're sounding loud and clear." And I said, "Cool. Hey, I'm testing out an external mic, speaker.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm testing out an external speaker. Would you mind if you gave me a quick another response, just saying, 'Hey, how's it going?' or whatever?" And he came back, and he's like, "Hey, just a speaker check, testing a radio," but and he said, I was like, "Awesome. All right, just say the same thing again. I'm going to switch to another channel on the radio, but same thing." And he did the same thing, and they both sounded
just fine.
Yeah. So, Roger sent me a link to a stereo channel, like adapter.
Speaker? Oh, adapter.
Yeah. So you just plug the stereo in the back, and then it somehow converts the 2 channels to 1 channel
for mono.
So then it'll just run both of the channels through that mono speaker.
Okay.
So we'll see if that works. It should actually, the adapter should arrive today.
Nice.
Costs like $4.
Yeah.
It looks like as small as a mini adapter. You got to plug one into the other, and that's as small as it is. So plenty of room underneath the bench seat there for the adapter.
Nice. And
we'll see if that solves the 2 channels, one being quieter issue that I was having.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been wondering about that speaker and if it was just the speaker problem is the problem.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of just swapping out the speaker, because you can get 8-watt external speakers on Amazon for like $8 to $10.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I was thinking about going that route, but a $4 adapter, if that works. Hell yeah.
Well, if the adapter doesn't work, then maybe I will get another speaker. This one it was made for a CB radio.
Yep.
It's a Cobra, and it's a decent size, but I believe it's also powered.
Oh.
I think to some extent.
Okay.
But I don't have it hooked up to anything.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure how.
It would draw the power through the speaker port then.
Yeah, it must.
That's how it would do that.
Because I'm pretty sure it's more powerful than just a normal speaker.
Interesting.
So I'm excited to test that out, try it out, and hopefully I can get multiple channels going. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Because I did feel that while we were out at Winter Fun Fest, I needed to actually carry another radio with me, because we were kind of monitoring 3 channels to some extent.
Yep.
And it would have been a lot easier to have handheld so that I could listen to 2 channels there, and then my radio listen to at least 1 channel there.
Yeah.
And then have the APRS running.
Yeah, I agree. I was using 4 channels.
Yeah.
in the Forerunner. So yeah, man, I have another piece of feedback for us. Did you get any communication from somebody about your starter?
I got actually a lot of people wrote me. Thank you, everybody that did, about my starter issue. Most everybody said that to check the ground wires.
Okay.
Check your ground wire from the battery to the starter. And then a lot of people also said to check the ground wires, because Toyota is notorious for putting smaller grounds on their vehicles. So check the ground from the engine block to the chassis and the engine block to the frame or to the body, excuse me. And check all the grounds more or less to make sure that there's no corrosion. Also had somebody message me, a few people, I think like 2, maybe 3 people said the electrical switch behind the tumbler sometimes goes bad. And so I'm going to check the ground wires first. Figure that's an easier first check to look at. And if that doesn't solve it, then I will go to the electrical connection at the tumbler.
Yeah. I think that's the one that I got from somebody, was the electrical connection at the tumbler. The older mini trucks from Toyota and the older Forerunners, they're notorious for the switches going bad in the steering columns.
Okay.
For like blinkers, your high beams, your windshield wipers. Those switches are notorious for going bad over time, because they run the full current through those switches. for the devices that
Right.
are using them
Yeah.
rather than using relays.
Yeah, and my high beams went out. Like there was a point, it was like when you would click the lever forward to turn the high beams on, they wouldn't turn on.
Yeah.
But if I pulled it backwards to like, you know how you could flash,
Yeah.
they would come on. So
Yeah.
there was times when I was driving and I would just hold that lever back so I
Yeah.
could have some high beams.
Yep.
So I actually, since then, I've bought a whole nother piece from the wrecker and I've installed that. So maybe it is actually the electrical connection that is the issue, not the grounds.
Yeah. Somebody said it's very easy to set up a separate relay for that. And what you do is you take the circuit that's on the back of the tumblers and you hook that up to an actual relay circuit. And then you use the tumbler and the key ignition switch to trigger the relay, which then sends the control signal over to your starter relay, which then sends the power to your starter.
And what would be the advantage of that?
You don't have the full power current going through the tumblers anymore.
Okay.
That would be the advantage of it. And so it's easy to set up and test. It just takes a while to clean up all the wiring because you're adding another nested relay into the system and have to get that all tidied up. So
yeah. Somebody sent me a link to the exact part that I needed, and it was, I think it was on eBay from some seller for like $150. And then I took that part number and typed it into Google, and I found a few of them that were like, they weren't like genuine Toyota parts, but they were down to like $40.
Oh, nice.
I might go find something in the middle there, some maybe a name brand, but not genuine Toyota.
You could
or
also,
I might call Rancho Toyota Recycling.
Yeah, you could also just make it so that you put a home wiring light switch on your dashboard
That'd be funny.
and just go bloop and flip the switch on to start the vehicle.
I don't have a kill switch, a safety switch. I do want to put one of those in one day.
Well, your starter right now is behaving like your safety.
Actually, the other day I pulled the truck into the shop and because we had that really big rainstorm and the back window doesn't completely shut. So I pulled the truck into the shop, started up fine. And then yesterday I needed to run a bunch of panels. And so I started the truck up and then drove it out and left it there and then decided if I was going to drive it in or not. And I hopped in and started it up. And then I decided I wasn't going to drive it in and left it outside in the sun. And it started fine that time. So it's been starting fine all the time. So
Still super intermittent.
Yeah, still super intermittent. And actually, funny, the longer story, my parents have a small little 2-wheel drive Nissan truck, which we call Fish Tank.
Okay.
And Fish Tank is having a starting issue as well.
Okay.
And it wasn't starting for the long time. We thought it might have been the battery or a loose connection. So we started checking all of those. And then it solved the problem for a while, but then it came back. My parents just took the truck to the shop and they said, nope, looks like it's the starters. You're probably your problem. Got the truck back. It didn't start again. And then through futzing around with the truck, my old man said that he was playing. It's like it's an automatic, but it's all on the tree.
Okay.
Right? And so he was playing with the park position on the tree. And he said, futzing around with that, then he was able to get it to start. And so,
interesting.
Yeah, we've have a few trucks that are having some sort of weird gremlin in regards to starting within the family. So, yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, we do have some other pieces of feedback. We have some voicemails to get through, quite a few actually for our normal amount, which is going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, I know one of them is from Avalanche.
Yep, Nick Bailey called in. That's one of them.
In regards to the starter. He said, I left you a voicemail in regards to your starter.
Oh, cool. Well, we'll do that one first then, since we know kind of what it's about. Before we get there, though,
okay.
We're still in January.
Yes.
So we have the giveaway going on for January. And so that's the 2 Morflate single tire inflators, the trail versions, going out to 2 lucky winners this month. All you got to do is head over to iRate 4x4 and sign up for the Snail Trail 4x4 forum under the giveaway tier. So the options are there for that. You can do it as a single or an annual. So
yeah, definitely. And to find those, you just on iRate 4x4, like Tyler said, if you're on mobile, there you just scroll down and in the Snail Trail 4x4 forum, signups will be on the bottom. If you're on desktop, they're there on the right side.
Nice. Awesome. So that's the January giveaway. December, we have not shipped them out yet. So
Nope.
Brandon and Nolan.
Yeah, I believe it was Nolan.
Now, Brandon
All
and
I
Nolan.
got to worry about is Brandon because that's my guy.
That's true.
Brandon, you're my guy.
So Brandon and Nolan, we have not shipped out your guys' gifts yet, but they are coming. So our goal is to get them shipped out before KOH here.
I was going to throw that proposal at you. I'm glad you said it and not me.
Yep.
I have been gathering random stuff from the shop. So.
Nice. Perfect. Cool.
And
so,
I did find out Brandon's shirt size.
a cheater.
What?
How'd you find that out?
I asked him.
Oh, okay.
Is that cheating?
Yes.
What? How's that cheating?
It's cheating.
I mean, they're going to find out that they won on the podcast. So, I wanted to give them the correct apparel.
No, you don't. You don't have to.
I'm like, here's your extra small.
Right.
It's the only size I got left.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll get those gifts out. Once they go out to them, we're going to wait until they both get them in, and then we'll find a way to have them vote and see whose is better.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that's from December's giveaway and January's giveaway. February's giveaway will be coming up in February. We probably won't be able to do the polling of the winner for January winners.
Yeah,
until after KOH.
Hammers, yeah.
So we'll announce that, late in February, and then we've got some other fun big announcements for February as well.
Yeah,
coming up. So
me as well.
Mm-hmm. You as well. Ah, look at you being all sneaky and teasing people.
Yeah. Some of you, if you've been following, if you're a Facebooker, one of my posts from Instagram was over there, and somebody asked me a question in regards to some product, and I gave them a timeline. Gotcha. Nice. I did see that post. So, all right, cool. Let's see. What else do we got for housekeeping stuff? We're at the end of the month, so we don't have a whole lot of stuff. Yeah. For the end of month. We typically need to figure out what we're going to be giving away for February, but we don't have to announce that yet. No, so I think we got to figure it out. We have a couple options. Okay. Yeah. Good. So, yeah, man. Awesome. Let's get over to some voicemails. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Let's start off with Mr. Nick. Oh my God. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Holy cow. Voicemails. All right. Let's start with Nick here.
Hey boys. Nick at Avalanche Technical Services here.
Hi, Nick.
Just listening to the pod about Winter Fun Fest and Jimmy's electrical issue. And I apologize if it had been mentioned before, but I would go through all of the grounds, that inconsistent type error issue that you're having. That's stuff that's commonly overlooked and is a pretty oftentimes can be an issue on a lot of the Japanese 4x4 Samurais, Toyotas, all that kind of stuff. So if it seems a little more buggy, when you're out wheeling, like it comes up a little more often when you're bouncing around on the trail versus just driving in town, a loose or corroded ground connection would be a good thing to try. And of course, when you're jumping with jumper cables, part of the reason that they tell you not to hook up to the dead vehicle's battery to go ahead and ground to the engine is because you're potentially bypassing both of those problems at once. A vehicle with a weak battery is the most common situation for a jump, but if you have a bad ground, so the boosting vehicle hooks the positive terminal either on the starter or the battery, and you ground to the engine, then you're bypassing the potential issue of a bad ground. So check that out. Nice multimeter to give you some insight. Otherwise, just visual inspection of all the grounds or adding a supplemental ground battery to engine. All right. Hope that helps. Good luck, and hope to be snow wheeling with you guys soon. See ya.
Awesome. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but yeah, I think the grounds are probably where I'm going to start, but I'm sort of leaning towards the problem possibly being in the column since I've already had somewhat issues there. But I think that, the cheaper and easier, slightly more timely probably is checking the grounds. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So cool. And Nick, yes, we need to go snow wheeling, buddy. Agree. Yeah. All right. Next two here. Okay. Because we gave him so much shit for not calling in before. Oh, Donnie called. Yay, and he called twice. Oh. So the first one's long, and the second one is a little shorter. So let's see what Donnie has to say here.
Hello, Tyler and Jimmy.
Oh, I was like, not Jimmy?
So Tyler, do you think I'm just out here hanging on your every word,
Yes.
waiting for the next podcast so I can, call in.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's just it. You don't know. I'm sneaky like that. Could be listening, could not be listening. You don't know. I'm like the Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Moving on from that, though, we already know you're losing Toyota members left, right, and center as they flock to the Rover world. Well, just during this last storm, one of my neighbors had a big tree drop on his garage and put the hurt on his Samurai project that left his Toyota okay. We know how you are with that chainsaw of yours. I don't think this is coincidence. I think that not only are your Toyota folks flocking away and joining up with us fine English Rover types, they're going to the Samurai world, and you're jealous. It's obvious that you're jealous. So, look, I understand. You got this complex and everything. I'm not reporting you this time, but just you got to know, we got our eyes on you. We know what you're up to over there. So you just got to watch out. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Oh, and one other thing. You know what it is. That's all.
Rovers suck. Was that it?
That's exactly. That is what he was going to say. Yes.
Yeah, good.
Is he insinuating that I cut down his neighbor's tree to smash the Samurai?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you would do that, because samurais are also Japanese.
Yeah. I'm like that. I wouldn't hurt my own kind here.
No.
Now, if he was building a rover project, I could totally see myself doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I'm just helping keep him from a world of misery in the future.
Yeah.
So,
electrical pain.
yes.
And I don't mean the electrical chair.
I'm just let's see what else he had to say. He called back and it was 11 seconds here. So
okay. Maybe he just says it.
There we go.
Lorenzo pinged me, said I'm obligated to say it. So that one other thing, Toyota's fine. That's all.
That's fine. I heard Lorenzo got fired from Wheeling Wine and Whiskey's podcast.
Again?
Yeah.
Wow.
That could be why he sent us another letter to come back and join us again.
Yeah, I was wondering where that letter came from. I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, they were talking about it on their most recent episode with what's the UTV racer? I forgot what his name was.
Kevin Jones?
No.
Shots fired.
Anyways, supposedly Chris reached out to the gentleman and asked him to join them on the podcast, which is normally Lorenzo's job. And I think Lorenzo threw a fit and they pretty much let him go.
Paul Wolf?
Paul Wolf, thank you very much.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, good. Lorenzo, we loved having you over here.
Yeah, I think you and B. Murph will make a great team.
I agree. Give B. Murph some competition. Show him what it's like to actually put in some work on a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we got 3 more?
We got 3 more.
Holy cow.
All right. This next one is from Tom up in Oregon.
Oh.
So I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe we do know who this is. All right. It's about starter issues. Cool.
Okay.
Let's see what he has to say.
Hey guys, this is Tom from up in Oregon. I'm listening to your podcast where you're talking about having a starter issue. It's pretty common on those Toyotas to have bad contacts in the plungers. It used to be pretty common practice to just replace the contacts inside that solenoid. So if that is actually a reman starter and they didn't replace those, you could be having the same problem as you did in the old starter. And then another thing to note on your previous podcast, the Monday's podcast, where you're talking about snow tires and wanting a mud tire if you're in deep snow, and then the TFL guys talking about wanting snow to pack in the tires. I think that's a passenger tire thing. So if you're out on the street when there's low amounts of snow on the road and it's mostly ice, then that snow packed into the tire is actually going to grip onto the ice a lot better than just the rubber tread. So I think that's kind of the difference, or at least in my opinion, from the science that I know of tires. That's what makes sense. Either way, enjoy the podcast and keep on rocking.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the plunger's in the starter.
In the solenoid in the starter. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, maybe it just, and if that might be another case of me just trying to get, I mean, I guess I could open it up, but I would think that it maybe would just be a little easier to just get a brand new starter
rather than a remanned one.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. That's good info. I agree. I think that, so I went up driving in through the icy highway 80 in the F-150 recently.
Okay.
And it seems like I have a lot more grip on the highway in the F-150 than I do in the 4Runner.
Oh, interesting.
Which makes a lot more sense. The F-150's treads are a lot closer together, right?
Yeah.
And because I do know the 4Runner, man, I got to go slow on the highways in the 4Runner because it's just cold rubber on ice at that point, which does no traction at all, pretty much. So I would agree. I think it comes down to the difference between passenger vehicles and off-road recreation style of driving that you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. You know, we kind of alluded to it where if you can dig down to the ground and you're driving on the road, then yeah, that probably makes sense that you want to have a little higher pressure, maybe some AT style tires, at skinnier tires possibly, so you can dig down, where if you're doing bottomless snow, then an MT aggressive tire that's aired down really far so you can get a big contact patch would be beneficial.
Yep. Or tracks.
And
get some tracks.
Which gets you an even bigger footprint.
Yeah, it do. Man. Yeah, I don't know if this would be like if people would appreciate it or not, but we can get super nerdy and explain how PSI works in tracks and how much running tracks really affects your overall footprint and how much weight is impacted in the snow on a PSI terms. So getting into the physics.
Like, there's no PSI on tracks.
Pounds per square inch.
Okay. So
yeah. So by increasing your footprint, how many pounds are actually now per square inch
pressing down
into the snow? Yeah.
A lot. Or
a lot less. Yeah. So
per square inch.
Yeah, I don't know if people would appreciate getting into the nerdy physics behind that or not. But
I think that they can pretty much gather for themselves that such a larger footprint that the weight is being dispersed more evenly across that footprint, and so it's less weight per inch getting pressing down.
And it ends up being a lot less weight. It's really impressive.
Sure.
So
that if you really want to step that game up, you just need a hovercraft.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Next,
or maybe
step.
One of those like fan boats that they have down in the south,
in the Louisiana swamps.
Yeah, they just across the.
That would
snow.
be fun.
All right,
next one. It looks like the last two are from the same person, so we will load it up.
Donnie, huh?
Nope. Looks like Brady.
Oh, Brady. Cool.
Yeah. So here we go. Voicemails from Brady.
Hey, Tyler and Jimmy. My name's Brady.
Hi, Brady.
I just want to say challenge accepted. I just listened to your crap show podcast from last year's King of the Hammers, and you were bashing on Nissan with the Trail Chasers there. We will have a Nissan in the 4500 series class this year. I am co-driving that car. So look for us, car number 4575. Maybe come out, hang out with us for a few minutes and see what a real truck's like. Anyway, you guys are one of my favorites. One of the best off-road podcasts. My actual favorite off-road podcast. Even though the Trail Chasers are pretty good. Anyway, just thought I'd give you that tidbit of information.
I think that's the end of it. I don't think he hung up.
Oh.
Yeah, there's nothing else written in the text. So we'll stop it there. And then he called back.
Maybe he got cut off.
Maybe. Let's see what Brady had to say on his call back.
What kind of Nissan?
Hey, this is Brady again. I forgot to mention that I do support your podcast. I am a member on iRate 4x4. So I do really like you guys. However, Nissan's rule, Toyota's rule. Sorry, guys. Couldn't help it.
Cool.
That's fine. You know, Nissan, it's all in the family, right?
Yeah.
They're still Japanese.
Yeah, they're right there. They're good buddies with our samurai friends.
Yep,
you know?
Exactly.
It's just one of those things. There's a lot of hate between the Jeep and Toyota people, but when like the Bronco or the Suzuki or the Nissan's out on the trail, everybody loves them.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, because they're not the normal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to, I'm going to find you guys down there, Brady. I'll be down there Monday through Sunday. Either come by the Moreflight booth, figure out where I am, or I'm going to come find you guys. So one way or another, we'll meet up. I definitely want to check out the truck. Point 2, I was having a fun discussion with Ozzy about this.
I thought you were going to say, let's see if you can beat Justin Reese in a Toyota.
I would love to actually see. We'll have to place bets over-unders on Justin versus Brady.
Mm-hmm.
My
You're
other
talking
point.
to Ozzy.
Yeah, I was talking to Ozzy, and he said that a 44, what is the stock class? 4,500? No, that's modified. 4,600 is stock. So 4,600, awesome platform is a Nissan Patrol from Australia.
Yeah. We fell in a very deep conversation
Yes.
about this at Hussman's house.
Oh, okay. You got over there.
D-Mill, Ozzy, me, and Hussman.
Yeah. So anyways, I got to have the similar conversation with Ozzy about it all. And so I'm like, after hearing about it, I'm like, yeah, get one, build one from Australia and have the Australian people bring it on over and race 4,600. I think that would actually be a phenomenal platform for it.
I don't think there's anything in the rule book stating that the vehicle needs to be USA made.
Nope. I don't think there is either. So, I've just always thought about USA made vehicles.
Right.
But now that you start opening up the door and thinking about anything you can make globally, that's an interesting discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly there was an option of not having a bed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so
it was a cab chassis only.
Yeah, there was
option.
a cab chassis only, which really opens the door for what you can do on the rear end of that vehicle.
Yep. Yeah.
Because part of the stock classes, you have to keep the body panels.
Yep. And so if the truck doesn't come with body panels to begin with,
you don't need to keep them.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be a really interesting idea to see come to fruition. For sure.
So anyways, I thought that was really fun. Yeah, we love hating on the Nissans when all the trail chasers are around.
Oh yeah.
So
otherwise we love them.
Exactly.
But I think the trail chasers are slowly getting away from the Nissan crowd now too.
Probably. They're finally coming to terms with reality and what's best for them. Mm-hmm. So kind of like Donnie and his neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to start. They're all merging towards samurais.
Yeah, that's right. We can thank Amber Turner for that, I think. Oh man, so cool. Thank you everybody for calling in. Some fun discussions, some fun points brought up, some fun things for Jimmy to check on his end now with his starter. And so, yeah, we love hearing from everybody. If you guys want to call in and have feedback for the show, bring up, spark some fun discussion about Nissan Patrols out of Australia, you can do that at 916-345-4744. That's the voicemail here at the show.
Yeah, we should get Aaron and Charles to build one up for us, and they can come over and hang out and race or join us on the lake bed, one or the other.
Yeah, 100%. That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah. Well, cool, man. That's all of the voicemails. God, we're getting into this. We have actually a lot to go over. We have some reviews.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're going to go over reviews
is we have a winner.
We have a winner for 450.
Yep, we're at 452 reviews, which means those two that got in late, you don't count. You're not in the drawing
for this drawing for the swag pack.
Yep. So we rolled the dice with the Google random number generator, and we got
116.
The person who wrote the 116th review. So we scrolled all the way back to the beginning because it was easier for us to go forward than count backwards that amount of numbers.
Yep. And we got to Mr. or Mrs. Red Rocket Hot Pocket.
Red Rocket Hot Pocket. What was the review that Senorita Red Rocket Hot Pocket wrote?
It says, the best. I love the info and sense of humor I get from these two. Something I can listen to while working the counter at Napa. I've learned so much from you guys. I can't wait till I have my taco ready for summertime.
Sweet.
Yeah, and that was written back on March 6th, 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
2021.
2021. So,
what do you want to bet that we never figure out who this is because they don't listen to the podcast anymore?
no, they got to keep listening. We'll see. It might turn into another 6-string trucker situation.
Yeah.
But Red Rocket Hot Pocket, call in, get in contact with us, whatever you need to do. We have a swag pack for you.
Yep. Yes, we do.
And we are well on the road now
to the winch.
To giving away a winch.
Once we get to 500 reviews, we're at 452. But once we get to that 500 mark, we are doing another drawing for the winch.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we're getting a little bit late in this episode. So let's skip going through a couple of reviews today. Sure. We just wanted to make sure we give that announcement for that way Mr. Red Rocket Hot Pocket can start working on getting in contact with us to collect your swag pack.
Yeah. Good ways to get in contact with us, it would be to email us, Jimmy or Tyler at snailtrail4x4.com. Or you can find us on Instagram. I'm over at snailtrail4x4. Tyler's over at 4x4 Toyota Tyler. And we already mentioned how to phone in if you want to do that as well. So those are easy ways to get a hold of us. If you want difficult ways, you have to figure that out.
Perfect. Just, I guess, for your information, I don't know. We may edit this out. We'll see. The secretary said that listeners of the podcast have been finding her personal Instagram account.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, interesting. I don't know if people are connecting dots finally after 3 years.
Maybe.
Or what, but yeah.
The assistant hasn't really even checked the _assistant ST4x4 account in a while.
Yeah.
So
gotcha.
they're probably upset that she's not active there and they're searching the other half.
Yeah.
Or other quarter.
I haven't checked Lorenzo's Instagram account in a while either. We should probably check that one.
Well, if he's been fired, I wonder if he's traveling again.
Oh, he might be traveling. We'll have to check in on him, see what he's doing.
Since he's now freed.
Oh, man, that's funny. Anyways, so cool, man. What have you been up to? Anything fun and interesting over the weekend or over the weekdays? Any work done on the vehicle? Or?
Nothing so much on the vehicle. Just kind of pulled it out of the weather into the shop and did some panels, but I ended up having a contractor come over to the house.
Okay.
And they gave me a thumbs up on the wall that I wanted to remove is actually not a load-bearing wall, which I was fairly certain it wasn't.
Yeah.
Especially since it's the wall on a second story and there's no supporting walls underneath it on the first story. So I was kind of like, yeah. And then I did crawl up in the attic and it didn't look like the top cap of the wall was very important, or there was no strength from the roof line going down to those walls. Mm-hmm. So I was pretty sure that it wasn't load bearing, and he confirmed that it wasn't load bearing. So I've now taken that wall out.
Nice.
Yeah. So it really actually opens that room up and gives you a better understanding of how to lay things out. Cause when you're first looking at it and there's like walls and studs and in between, you can see through the wall, cause it's just the studs, but it doesn't give you an idea of how big that room's going to be. Mm-hmm. It's sort of teasing in a way.
Yeah.
But now that wall is out of there and it's easy to just jump into what's going to be the master bathroom. You go, oh, this actually opened it up a whole bunch. So
nice.
That was one of the things I did on Wednesday or Thursday. I don't remember. I think it was on Thursday. And then Friday was the assistant's birthday. Mm-hmm. And so she had some family come over. Then the family came to the new house and wanted to see the property in the house and talk about what we're doing. And then we went out to dinner, and then we went up to my buddy's cabin.
Oh, nice.
Up by Pinecrest Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And took the kiddo with us, and we met Jimbo with his kids, and then some other friends were up there as well. And the kids were just 100% about the snow, which they should be, right? I mean, the mini assistant had her head down looking at a tablet most of the way. We'll let her use a tablet in the car when the drive's over an hour. Okay. She was watching something on Netflix or playing a game or something on the way up.
Was she watching Snail Trail 4x4 YouTube videos?
Maybe. Or the podcast or whatever. But anyways, when we pulled off the freeway, we told her that, hey, get off your tablet. And she poked her head up and then realized oh my gosh, there's snow like up to the bottom of the street signs on the side of the road. There's so much snow. Oh my gosh, we're going to have such a fun time. I'm so excited. Look at all this snow. Wow. Can you believe how much snow there is? We're going to have the best trip ever. I'm so excited to be going to the cabin. Just all these like excitement coming out of her. It was really cute.
That's pretty much the exact same transition I go through while driving up to the Sierras.
Yeah, I know. It's like when we're driving up there, we're like, ooh, did you see the white on the side of the road? It was only a little dusting, but that means there's snow coming. And then we drive further. Oh, look at all this whole side's now covered in snow. Oh, look, there's a foot of snow. I get it. I mean, I'm sort of the same way to some smaller extent. So we got up there kind of late. We put the kids to bed. We hung out until like 1 a.m. And then the kids woke up really early because they wanted to go play in the snow. But we told them that we trampled on those expectations quick. They had to eat breakfast and do a few little small chores, like get some wood for the fire and stuff. So, and then we let them loose outside. I went and worked on the deck for a little while. And then around just before noon, I went out back and I was like, okay, show me your sledding route. And they're like, no, we made a sled park. And I'm like, what?
A whole park?
Yeah. And so they were like, we have 4 runs. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. But they're all like 4 feet long, you know? And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, here's one, here's another. Okay. Here's the third. Where's the fourth? And they're like, oh, it's over here. And they had used this like snow pile from the neighbor's yard getting cleared out of their driveway. Like it was bulldozed forward and like just piled the snow up top. So they had this like 5-foot hill that they climbed up and then got on the top of that with a saucer and then slid down. And it only went like 5, maybe 6 feet long. And I was like, we can improve this. We can make this better.
Yeah.
So I tripled or quadrupled the length by the end of the trip, and it had like 2 berms in it, you know, so they went down the hill, hit this berm, turned right, went like almost immediately hit another berm to turn left, and then at the end I made this sort of round area, so they just kind of stopped and went in like a small circle and then stopped there, and then they could hike back up. So they absolutely loved that. And then we went to Pinecrest Lake because it's a lot of fun to a lot of people go out there during the winter because the lake's usually low. And then the gradual drop of the lake, you can just sled down towards the lake.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You can use the lake's topography. Thank you. To, just plant something down and sled down towards the lake. And there was so much snow there that you're not getting onto the lake or into the lake. And there was a bunch of people there doing it. So we just kind of found a run that looked good and asked some people if we could join them. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So we were sledding down with this other family and hanging out with them for a little bit. And then the kids got cold about an hour in after a few crashes and having some fun and a small snowball fight that they wanted to go back to the cabin. So did that. It was funny because the kids wanted to have a snowball fight, but none of the kids wanted snowballs thrown at them.
Oh, that sounds fair. Yeah.
It was really kind of funny because it's like, wait a second. So you just want to throw snowballs at me, but you don't want me to retaliate. Yeah. You're like, yeah. I'm like, no, we're not going to play that.
That's not how life works.
No.
Yeah.
So went out to dinner that night at Mia's, a pizza place up there that's really good. And then the next day, we stayed up really late that night too, but the kids slept in. Fortunately, they were exhausted from playing in the snow. And then the next day we left around noon to 1-ish, but the kids got to play in the morning until it was time to pack up and go.
Nice.
Yeah. And then went home, quickly took some showers and changed. And then we went over to the assistant's stepdad's house and had some dinner. And that was our weekend.
Nice.
Yeah. So
did they get to do any snow cave digging?
No, not really. There wasn't really a good spot for it. We could have probably done it in one of the berms that the snowplows made on the road, but then you're standing in the road digging a hole. We didn't really do a snow cave.
Gotcha.
We've done it before.
Yeah. One of my favorite things growing up at my aunt and uncle's cabin was because that's in a cul-de-sac.
Okay.
So the snowplow would come in and just push all the snow from the cul-de-sac poof,
Straight back.
or straight back. And so you end up with these massive snow berms, and you could dig snow caves in them.
Yeah.
And so I always loved doing that. And Nick Bailey recently posted a video of him digging out a snow cave. And I was like, oh, this speaks to me. It was like fully 6 foot tall inside. You could walk around with a column in the middle for support.
Wow.
Yeah, it was impressive. And I was like, that's how you do snow caves.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I do admit. Yeah, we've done a snow cave before, and the mini assistant asked if like, can we do one? And we're like, there's not really a good spot for it.
Yeah.
We did have to, well, I didn't have to, but the driveway needed to be shoveled out from the berm, from the snow plow, shoving the snow off to the side. And my buddy Joe was up there the week before, so he had already knocked it down, but then it snowed 3 feet in the amount of time that he left on Monday to when we showed up on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a bit of a berm that they had to dig out. And supposedly by the time they dug it out and then my buddy Joe drove in and parked, that by that time my buddy Jimbo showed up, but then Jimbo went in and he got stuck in his truck. And it's like it's a 4x4 Chevy 2500, but it's on street tires.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a half a cord of wood in the bed, and so he got stuck. And then about 5 minutes after they got him unstuck and parked, I showed up and then drove right in and didn't have any problems.
Look at Charlotte go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only slight concern was I hanging into the road too much, but I wasn't. I wasn't a problem. So yeah, Joe could have pulled a little bit farther forward and Jimbo could have pulled a little bit farther forward and we would have been totally fine. But yeah, it was fine. And then the concern was, is Jimbo going to get out at the end? But after we unloaded the wood, he got out. No problem.
No problem.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, cool. It sounds like a fun weekend up in the snow.
Yeah, it was a good time. The kids had an absolute blast, and that's what it was. I was up there to sort of give Joe a hand on the deck, but the main reason we wanted to go up there was to let the kids loose. Yeah. And they had a fantastic time.
Nice. That's cool. Sweet. Yeah, I got to do a couple of things.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed. I had a lot of fun with. The big thing was a recovery.
Yeah.
And
interesting recovery.
A very interesting recovery. The guy was out on Fordyce.
Yeah.
In YJ.
Okay. Sorry, your first mistake.
TJ. I think it was one of like the early TJs.
Okay.
It was a TJ. It had coil springs in the front.
It had like square headlights that were slightly round.
Kinda, yeah. And so no, it was a TJ on a Dana 30 front axle. He had Dana 60 in the rear, and I was like,
oh, what? Okay,
come on, you can do better than this, Mike. And so he snapped the whole housing of the Dana 30.
Wow.
So the tube on the passenger side, the long side, snapped the tube and snapped the axle shaft. Sheared everything right in half.
Wow. Where did it break?
Right at the coil spring. So there's the coil spring mount on top of the axle and the lower control arm bracket on the axle.
Yeah.
It snapped 1 inch from that lower control arm bracket.
Towards the diff side.
Yeah, towards the diff side.
Got it. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so it was very impressive. We found it under about 4 feet of snow.
Yeah.
When we got to it, so dug it out. It was really cool going because I kind of got requested to take care of this recovery, and I was like, yeah, sounds fun. I would love to do some welding in the snow, but I was like, I can't do this by myself. And so the people that were around kind of at the time, they were like, well, we can put together a crew. And it was the Grassvalley four-wheelers.
Okay, cool.
And so the cool thing about the Grassvalley four-wheelers
is... Are these the same group of guys that went in to check on the Grateful 8?
Negative.
No, okay.
Different group. So the Grassvalley four-wheelers, they're like all retired.
Oh.
And so they love going weekday snow wheeling.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They absolutely love it. I'm like, I need to hang out with you guys a little bit more often, I think. But got together with them. I was only anticipating like they were going to get together maybe 2, maybe 3 rigs at most. They got together 9 vehicles.
Whoa.
For this recovery. And what I think it came down to is people were like, yeah, I want to go do snow wheeling on a Thursday.
Right? Wait, it's a beautiful day and we can go play in the snow and nobody else is really going to be around. I'm in.
Yeah, so we were originally planning to go out on either Monday or Tuesday, but I was like, hey, the storms are just finishing up here. Let's just let them finish up And Thursday and Friday are supposed to be gorgeous days for weather. So let's just wait until Thursday and we'll go out, have some beautiful weather, and we'll dig out the vehicle and, go to town on repairs and get it off the trail.
Cool.
So everybody agreed. It ended up being an absolutely gorgeous day.
Did the owner of the vehicle, was he available that time too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he was nice. He was actually like, yeah, no, this is priority for me. I don't want to leave my vehicle out there. I want it off of the trail. It shouldn't be out there anyways. I don't want it to, possibly leak and put contaminants in the environment. Like we shouldn't be leaving vehicles out there. And unfortunately I have to, and it's bugging me. This is top priority, which
Good
is
for
a
him.
stark difference from a certain vehicle stuck on the Rubicon right now.
Yeah.
So kudos to him. He came up, brought his truck and trailer, and we met him up at the Eagle Lakes exit.
Okay. Yep.
And we all met up at the same time, pretty much. Grassvalley four-wheelers, their 9 rigs, and me. The owner of the broken vehicle rode with me in, and I kind of led the way into the vehicle. And it was absolutely beautiful. There was about a foot of fresh powder from the tracks that were there laid previously. And absolutely stunning up there. I mean, when you get sunshine with no clouds in the sky, with all the snow around, the snow-capped trees and the snow-covered trails, I don't think anything compares to it personally.
Yeah.
But we went in. He was about a mile in the trail, so a mile past the staging area. Found him, dug him out, winched him backwards, and just kind of drug the whole front end.
Why'd you need to go backwards?
Because he wasn't in a super level spot.
Okay.
And it was it was more level, taking him back about 6 feet, 7 feet.
Got it.
So winched him backwards 6-7 feet, got him to a really nice level spot that was wide enough to be able to work on the vehicle safely. And so we ended up using his winch to go forward off of a tree, snatch blocked off of a tree, and then back down to his axle so that we could pull his axle forward.
Okay.
And then we put a high lift under each of his sliders to lift the vehicle up. And then I brought my Sumner jacks out.
Oh, smart.
And so we put the front bumper down on the Sumner jacks. So the vehicle was supported with the 2 Sumner jacks and the 2 high lifts. And then we had a bottle jack underneath his axle housing to kind of jack up the axle housing and get it semi-situated. And then we used infinity loops off of his wheels in order to get the camber correct or semi-correct so that the 2 tubes would meet up with each other.
So you'd line up the tubes.
Exactly.
Wow. How'd you put the Sumner jack down and the bottle jack down and it just not bury itself in the snow?
It was ice. So
Okay.
underneath that 3 feet of snow, 4 feet that we found the vehicle under, there was a layer of ice. The warm storms that we originally got from New Year's, it just made this really thick layer of ice over everything.
Got it.
So all the storms since then have just got powder. So it was a nice layer of ice to support everything on. I did bring out 3/4 inch plywood, 2x2 squares of it, and we used those underneath the high lifts.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then the Sumners and the bottle jack, we put the bottle jack on a high lift base.
Got it.
But the Sumners held up just fine on the ice. So yeah, that was interesting. We used to come along off of the passenger wheel and my winch on the Forerunner on the driver wheel in order to get the camber right so it would lift up the tubes underneath the vehicle to align the axle housing tubes. We weren't able to get it perfectly aligned, but we got the bottom of the tube perfectly aligned.
Oh, cool.
I was able to, once we kind of had it all aligned, I got under and just used a bunch of 6011 stick rod and the Premier welder on the Forerunner, welded together the bottom of the tube, and then started taking a 2x2 square inch tubing that was 1/8 wall and cutting those in half.
Okay.
So it was essentially turned into like a C channel, right?
Right.
And then putting those on the sides of the axle housing, welded those on all the way around. And then it was a little bit of a gap in the top, and the Premier welder with 6011 burns hot.
Yeah, you were saying you were burning through everything.
I was burning through everything. I was burning through the 1/8 wall square tubing like it was nothing. Like it just wasn't even there, like it was sheet metal.
Wow.
And I burnt a hole in the axle tube at one point.
Dang.
So whatever thickness a Dana 30 axle tube wall is, I burned through that using 6011.
Jeez.
And 6011 is a hotter burning rod.
Okay.
It's designed to get really deep penetration in dirty metal, right?
Right. Okay. So what did you do? Turn the RPMs down on your truck?
We had to turn the RPMs way down eventually. And I'm used to running the Premier mostly with 7018 rod, and that you have to run the RPMs higher, so you get a hotter burn.
Right.
And 6011 was just burning so hot, I was melting through everything. So
crazy.
Once we got that kind of figured out, everything started flowing really good. We put grade 8 3/8 bolt on top of the two pieces of square tubing across the top of the axle.
Okay. Why?
So that we could tie together the top of the axle to the square tubing.
So it was at an angle, or it was perpendicular to the square tubing?
It was horizontal with the square tubing. It was kind of like the square tubing came down, but it didn't come down perfectly. It still had a little bit of a gap there between the square tubing and the axle on both sides. And so you've got, I'm gonna give you hand signals. People,
well, you
listening,
got a C channel sitting on top of an axle. So
on the sides,
on the side, front and back sides.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're going to have a hole where the C is, but it's not going to be full because the axle's round.
Correct.
So you were putting it on there to fill that gap?
No, we filled the gap on top of the axle to connect the square tubing to the axle housing on the top.
Why didn't the C channel touch?
Because Dana 30 tubes are fucking small.
Okay.
The square tubing wouldn't touch. There was a gap.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what we did was I took the bolt and welded the bolt to the top of the axle tubes to connect the top, because the top we had about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch gap on top of the tube. And so I put the bolt there to weld the top of the tube together. And then we welded the bolt to each of the square tubings, the 2 C channels I had on either side.
Interesting. Okay.
So that kind of connected all that. And then just for extra strength up there, we added some angle iron and then attached the angle iron into the control arm bracket.
Wow.
So we did all that on the top. And then on the bottom, we had a piece of angle iron across the bottom because we were able to weld the tube on the bottom itself.
Right. Because it lined up well.
It lined that up pretty good. And then we put angle iron on the bottom and then welded in the angle iron to the axle tube as well as the lower control arm bracket. And then each of the square tubing was welded into the lower control arm bracket. And then we got the square tubing lined up perfectly against the upper control arm.
Okay.
The upper arm bracket as well. So we had everything tied into the tube and the brackets and itself.
Nice.
It took about, total time there was about 3.5 hours. I would say it took about 1.5 hours of welding, but the rig drove out under its own weight. No problems whatsoever.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool.
In 3-wheel drive?
2-wheel drive.
Okay.
So he had his front unlocked. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2-wheel drive, and then through some of the parts, we had him strapped to another Jeep, a 4-door JK, probably weighed 6,500 pounds on Fordyce, and he towed him all the way off the trail. So there was definitely times when the JK was pulling the TJ, but the TJ made it out under its own weight, which is neat. And then once we got it up on the trailer, I went and kind of crawled under and checked out all the welding and everything was still together solid. Nothing looked stressed, nothing looked cracked, nothing looked like it was going to come apart.
It's going to be a trail fix that's going to be permanent.
Yeah, right. No, we didn't get his camper just right. So, yeah, so that was fun. That was a lot of fun hanging out with the Grassvalley 4-wheelers for the day. Brandy was out there.
Oh, cool.
So she was
seen her in a long time.
Yeah, so it was fun kind of seeing her, getting to say hi to her again. And then just the rest of that crew, they were really fun people to hang out with, super knowledgeable about fabrication and trail repairs and kind of MacGyvering on the trail.
Jimmy rigging
stuff. Yep. So it was a lot of fun hanging out with them. Absolutely gorgeous day. And we were off the trail, and I think everybody made it back home before dark.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty cool,
awesome.
too. So,
where was the guy that broke from?
Somerset area. So kind of down south of Placerville, near Placerville. So, yeah, it was a fun day.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And congratulations on figuring that all out and getting it done
Yeah.
so quickly. That was awesome.
I was really impressed with how quickly, for everything that had to get done, it was impressive to get all that done in 3.5 hours.
Yeah. And I'm sure there was a solid hour and a half probably of just figuring out how lift the vehicle up, move it around, where to position it, how to lift the axles and move the axles.
Surprisingly not. I guess last year, one of the guys, once it was either Joe or Bob, one of those two.
Joe Bob.
Yeah, we'll call them Joe Bob. They had done a similar repair last year.
Oh, okay.
And so
he had some knowledge on how to set everything up.
Mm-hmm. And so I had talked with him before, and I was like, here's my thinking just from not seeing the vehicle, knowing what is broken and what needs to be done. I said, I'm thinking about lifting the vehicle up, suspending the axle underneath it, and then using ratchet straps or come along to something to maneuver the axle into place, get it tacked in, and then remove everything and weld it all, burn everything in. He goes, yeah, that's pretty much what we did last year. I was like, cool. So the trick is just going to be using the space that we have in order to make that happen. And that was fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I had a lot of fun there Thursday. Saturday, I got invited to go up to Uncle Tom's cabin with the Boonie Bouncers.
Who are they?
Another club.
From the area?
Yeah, they're kind of Carmichael area, I believe.
Oh, I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, we have a lot of clubs in the Sacramento area. So I got to go out with the Boonie Bouncers. And again, another absolutely gorgeous day.
I wonder if Red Rocket Hot Pocket's part of their crowd.
I don't know, maybe. So yeah, we started out, met up in Georgetown, and then headed up Wentworth Springs Road up to Uncle Tom's cabin. The whole road up there from the plow line up to Uncle Tom's is very well tracked in right now, and it's getting a little icy from how many vehicles are just going in and compacting all the snow, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But as soon as you get off of the road, it's super soft and you sink down like 3 feet. So we were having fun. I was playing around in the soft snow. There were definitely other people there that were just staying completely on the road. A couple of other people were, playing around. They'd get stuck every once in a while, go a little bit too far, have to get pulled out. But what was interesting about that day was when we got to Uncle Tom's, there was a stock F-150 shoveling without a shirt on down at one of the cabins.
Okay.
And there was about 2 feet of snow on top of the truck. And I was like, that much snow hasn't fallen in the past few days.
Yeah.
So
that truck has been up there
at least
for
one storm, if not 2 storms.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what is going on? This dude's out there shoveling, and Uncle Tom's is busy at this time. By the time we get up there, like there was a line of cars waiting to get into Uncle Tom's.
Oh, wow.
And because they had to wait for people to leave to get parking.
Okay.
And so I'm like, there's a shit ton of people here. And this dude's just over here at the cabin shoveling with 2 feet of snow on his. I'm like, what is going on? Like,
yeah.
Usually off-roaders are like, hell yeah, let's pull you out of here or something. And so I went up to him. I was like, hey, what's going on, dude? He goes, yeah, I've been up here since Sunday. Last 6 days he was up there. I was like, oh, so you were here through 1 to 2 storms.
Yeah, right.
He goes, I've been up here since Sunday. I haven't been able to get out of here. And I was like, has anybody else offered to pull you out of here or like help in any way? He goes, no, you're the first one. I was like, wow,
really?
I'm kind of disappointed in our community right now. And so I was like, no worry, dude. Let's get you out of here. And so I packed a driveway for him to get out. It was a good 150, 200 foot section from where he was parked up to the road. That's kind of like the main driveway into Uncle Tom's.
Yeah.
And so getting ready to pull him, I had the strap set up to his truck, and I was telling him, I was like, all right, so we need to get you pulled forwards first before we spin you, because there was a pipe on his back rear quarter panel. So if I had spun him, then his back end would hit the pipe. And so we need to pull you forward. And as I'm sitting here explaining this guy in a JK pulls up and parks like right in between me and him where the strap is.
Where the strap is?
Yeah. And I kind of looked at him for a second, and I was like, do you mind not parking right there? And he kind of looked at me and he goes, why? And I was like, well, I'm about to pull him out right now. We need to get him pulled out. And he goes, why can't you pull him out? And I was like,
because you're on my strap.
You're pretty much right in between us. If I pull him out, I'm going to pull him into you. And he goes, you can pull him out just right there. And I said, no, he needs to come forward 5 feet to pretty much where your bumper is right now. Can you please just back up 10 feet? And he kind of looked at me and he goes, why can't you just pull him? And I said, because I need to pull him forward. He like wasn't understanding that concept. And he goes, well, are you going to do this right now? And I bent down, I picked up the strap. I was like, yeah, I have the strap hooked up right now.
Yeah, we're already hooked up and ready to go.
Like,
and you just came here.
Yes. Yeah. And like, I don't understand. I was like, are you just really high right now? Like, I was like, it's pretty obvious what's going on here. Why don't you understand this?
Yeah.
So finally he backed up and, I got the guy pulled up and out of there, and turns out as I'm getting ready to do it, his buddy showed up. His buddy was over at the cabin at the bar part of the cabin getting drinks. And so his buddy comes up and he's got a GoPro on a selfie stick. And he's like, oh man, our savior, is this actually finally happening? We're going to get out of here. And I was like, well, that's the goal. He goes, okay, cool. And he said he's a TikToker, YouTuber of some kind. I forget what their name was, but when he said it, I remember thinking, oh, I've heard of you guys. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It wasn't Bleep and Jeep. It was something else Jeep. And it's going to come to me later. But anyway, so pulled the truck out, got him back up to the main road, unhooked him. And they were like, man, thank you so much. We've been here since Sunday. Nobody's been offering to help. And I'm like, that's so weird. That's just weird to me. In that area, usually people are always like, oh yeah, let's get you recovered, get you out of here. And so I was like, well, cool. You guys are all good now. Let me know if you need anything else. And I went down into Uncle Tom's, went to get some drinks at the bar, hung out, got to hang out with some people. There were some listeners there that recognized me. And so they were like, oh, you're Tyler from Snail Trail. And I was like, yeah. And so chatting with them for a bit, that was a lot of fun. And then once we decided our group was going to go up and go play around up on Heartless, I went back out to the rig, out to the Forerunner, and there was $60 in cash sitting on my seat.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, that was nice of them. I'm assuming it's coming from the guys I pulled out.
Yeah.
Because there was no reason for the JK. Right. No, he definitely would not have. There's another part of the story that I'm not going to say on the podcast here, but I'll tell you off air. Yeah, I came back out. There's $60 on the Forerunner on my seat.
That was nice.
And I was like, oh, cool. That was nice. Turns out I learned later, complete coincidence. I have a customer that I've been talking with back and forth with Morphlate. They're ordering a couple of kits. And they were like, oh, small world. You went up to Uncle Tom's with the Boonie Bouncers. They said, I'm really good buddies with Pete. And I was like, oh, no shit. That's awesome. He goes, Pete's one of the guys in the Boonie Bouncers that coordinated the run on Saturday. So I was like, oh, no shit. That's awesome. And so they were like, yeah, you pulled out the guys that were stuck at my cabin. And I was like, your cabin? I didn't realize that the cabins at Uncle Tom's belonged to individual people. I thought you could rent them out.
Okay.
So like in my head, I assumed that those guys came up to Uncle Tom's for a fun weekend to rent the cabin last weekend and then just got snowed in.
Right.
And they couldn't get out because nobody was helping them for some reason. Turns out those guys came in, got snowed in, and broke into somebody's cabin.
Oh, no way.
And was using the cabin as shelter until they could get out. And nobody was helping them get out.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, interesting. And so once I found that out, I offered to the person, I was like, hey, they left me $60.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to use it for, I was just recovering them. I'm helping them out. Yeah. If you have repairs that need to be done to the cabin, let me give you the $60 to help them pay for the repairs.
Sure.
For the cabin there. And I haven't checked my email to see if they responded yet. But
I'll pay that $60 forward to anything that happened on your cabin.
Exactly. Yeah. So after I was like, interesting, just interesting situation all around.
Right.
And that was kind of one of the main highlights of Uncle Tom's. So once you start getting past Uncle Tom's, the snow gets really soft really quickly.
Oh, then it gets fun.
Yes. And that's where the fun starts for me, right?
Because everybody wants to go to Uncle Tom's.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, we're just going to go to Uncle Tom's, but doesn't want to continue on.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's not too much farther to Heartless.
Nope. No. It's 2 miles, 2.5 maybe.
Okay.
And so we got to within a quarter mile maybe of the top where the cattle guard is. And there was just a line of rigs. Like it just all came to a sudden stop.
Oh, wow. And everybody was trying to get out there. Everybody
was trying to get up, but people weren't able to do it. So in order to let the one car down that wasn't able to make it, it's a single track at this point. all 30 cars have to back down out of there to let the one car out so that people can then go up and try. And so we got to that point. I was like,
Yeah.
this isn't worth my time now.
Yeah.
I was like, it would be fun to go up there and just go up and over and just leave everybody behind. But getting to that point is going to take 4 hours.
Right.
So
Why didn't you just go on the side and pass them all?
I started to, because everybody, they were kind of getting stuck trying to come back down. People couldn't figure out what was going on. So I started making turnaround spots where people could get past each other in that single track area.
Smart.
Yeah. And so after that, I was like, I'm good. I'm good for the day. The secretary was with me. So I was like, I don't need to be out here past dark time and have her have a bad experience. So we'll just take the time, turn around here and said bye to a few people and then headed on back down the hill and went home.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
It was a lot of fun. I had a blast with it. So in last week, I went snow wheeling. If you include the runs at Winter Fun Fest, I went snow wheeling on Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Awesome.
It was a great week.
Yeah. If you include me driving into a very snowy driveway,
That works.
that what I put the truck into 4-wheel drive low just to have a little bit more control while pulling in. I went snow wheeling on Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, and
Nice.
Sunday.
Nice. That works.
With
We'll
the
count
last
it.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're just driving into a driveway.
Yeah, we can count it. That's fine.
I did do up the hill. I did a 4-wheel drift though. That was pretty fun.
Nice. Those are always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the young boys in the back seat was like, I feel really nervous.
In the middle of the drift.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I was like, you're fine.
That sounds like Kevin Jones while he's co-driving with people.
That could be.
Just kidding. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And then the last thing I did was I got the replacement rotors for my rear axle
that
that I'm building.
Yeah. The ones that were off a little bit.
Yep. They just seemed like they weren't drilled center. And then
Yeah.
I called Busted Knuckle and they're like, yeah, we had a production issue. We'll send you new rotors.
Okay. Yeah.
They sent me the new rotors
Yeah.
and they didn't fit either.
What?
Yeah. So I think I think my
My production issue isn't with the rotors. It was with
the unit bearings,
Unit
I think.
bearing.
Yeah, I think they drilled the 8x6.5 pattern on the unit bearings incorrectly. After that, I was just like, well, let's just try and set the wheel pattern on the unit bearings back to the 8x170s, the stock pattern that they come with from Timken.
Okay.
Set it to the 8x170s. That took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours of pressing out all the studs, all 32 studs, and pressing them back in. And then I put the rotors on, fit perfectly.
Okay. Did you actually press out and in all 32 before you put one of the rotors on? Or did you do 8?
I did one
Okay.
unit bearing first, tested to see if it fit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm just going to do all the rest of them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we'll just run 8 on 170 rather than 8x6.5.
I would have been laughing so hard if you did all 32 and then they didn't fit.
God, that would have sucked. I would have hated life. The axles that I'm building, I'm now going to be running 8 on 170 lug pattern instead of 8 on 6.5.
Okay.
So
Which doesn't really matter, does it?
there's benefits and drawbacks to either pattern you choose.
Is it the primary benefit or drawback wheel selection?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
There's the wheel selection and there's more 8x6.5 wheels on trails nowadays than there are 8 on 170s.
Okay.
But 8 on 170 is the 05 and up unit bearings for Ford. And so with those axles getting used more and more and more and more in off-roading applications,
Right.
8 on 170s are not really becoming uncommon on the trail. So there's that. And the other big benefit is that if you buy the 05 and up unit bearings from Timken or go get them at Napa or AutoZone or anything, they come with the 8 on 170 patterns.
Right.
And they're $100 cheaper
Oh.
than having to get ones that are re-drilled for 8 on 6.5. So I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with 8 on 170. So 8 on 170 it is. That's what I'm going with. And so now I get to start looking for wheels that will leave me at the correct track width that I'm looking for. So
And so you're going to do some funky backspacing or good offsets?
I think I'm going to have to do some funky backspacing on the wheels. So we'll see. I haven't done a lot of research yet. I did get to set up and tack in the the regular brake calipers.
Yeah.
So the Willwood 4-piston calipers, the Dynalites that are the lightweight brake kits that they do. I took the calipers and the brackets that came from Bust Knuckle Offroad and got them set up on the rotors, clamped them to the rotors using air pressure, and got them in position to where I wanted them for packaging purposes, and then tacked on the caliper brackets to the axle, and then started setting up the electronic parking brakes, and realized I couldn't actuate them using 12 volt.
Oh, well, but aren't they a 12 volt system?
They are a 12 volt system.
So what did you need? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't 12 volts actuate them?
I didn't understand either. So that's a great question. Today, when you got here just before recording, we called Willwood because you also got a set of the electronic parking brakes.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, these were explained to me that these are just a 12 volt system. You apply 12 volt to them and it actuates the worm gear motor in there. And that clamps the two brake pads together and holds your wheel from turning. And he goes, yeah. I was like, okay, I applied 12 volt to them and nothing happened. Like, how many amps do they need? Because I was using like a 22 gauge wire to do it with, like testing wire essentially. And he goes, let's see here. Our wiring harness kit comes with a 40 amp fuse. And I was like, oh, you need like 40 amps in order to engage these parking brakes? He goes, I don't know. That's just what our wiring harness says. We don't have any specs that call out what it needs. And I was like,
any amperage.
Yeah. And I was like, well, definitely 22 gauge wiring is not going to flow 40 amps of power through it.
Yeah. He said that they use 12 gauge.
Yeah. They use 12 gauge wiring for their wiring harness. I was like, interesting. And I was like, okay, well, that explains it. So I just need to find a different way to apply higher power, higher current to the motors in order to get them to engage. And I was like, okay, I'm just curious. Do you have the plugs available that plug into these parking brakes? And he goes, no, we can't sell them to you because it's all built into the wiring harness. You just have to buy the wiring harness. And I was like, you keep talking about this wiring harness. Like, what's special about the wiring harness? It's just some relays and you hook it into a switch and it works, right? And he goes, no, they all work and plug into the control box, the ECU for the parking brakes. And I was like, what do you mean ECU? Like, which ECU are these set up for? Are they not set up for universal usage? What vehicle ECUs are you talking about? And he goes, no, the parking brakes have their own control box, their own ECU. And I was like, this was never told to me.
Yeah.
When I was asking questions and getting into the parking brake calipers and going this route, I was like, why do they have their own ECU? And he goes, because in order to engage and disengage using the motors in the electric parking brakes, you have to reverse the polarity of the electricity, and that moves the motor one way versus the other way.
Yeah, in versus out.
Yeah, and sure. I was like, oh, I guess that makes total sense. Interesting. So it's not just as easy as running two electrical wires and applying 12 volt to the circuit, to the motor, to get that to work. He goes, no, it's not. I was like, I really wish this was explained to me when I was going through all this research and calling you guys and talking to you about all this. He goes, yeah, sorry, I don't know. I'm sure who you talked to, but this is how they work. And I was like, all right, well, I guess so what? In order to make these work, I have to buy your guys' control box, wiring harness, and switch? He goes, yeah, pretty much. You're supposed to buy the whole kit. And I was like, do you guys think that might be a good idea to have that noted somewhere on the electric parking brake product page? And he goes, I mean, it's, I guess you just got to know it's under the vehicle applications. And so I started digging through. I was like, I can't find it. How do I find this? He goes, here, let me just give you the part number.
Well, yeah. And he said, well, we do have the kit.
Yeah. I was like, there's a kit for this? That would have been nice to know too.
Right.
Yeah. So anyways, because we already have the parking brake calipers, that were $700. It's going to be about another $550 to $600 to get the wiring harness, the control box, and the switch. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and buy them and get them and set them up. But if I had known this going into it, I don't know if I would have gone this route.
Yeah, absolutely.
$1,300 to set up parking brakes.
Yeah. That's a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Hopefully they work well.
I'm really hoping they work well. Yeah, we'll see. For anybody out there that's been kind of following along and had questions about these electronic parking brakes, they're $1,300 to get them. Just FYI, they're not the $600 to $700 that was originally told to us.
Yeah. Gnarly.
Yeah. So anyways, wanted to give those updates. The axle finally is looking like an axle. I'm really excited, but now I've got to wait for the wiring harness kit to come in to move forward on the parking brakes. Once I get the parking brakes mounted, the rear axle is going to be pretty much ready to go.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I'll need to get the knuckles and C's for the front axle, and then I can cut the front axle, and I think I'm going to just cut the front axle for the WMS, but then hand everything over to Ori at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's going to need to adjust.
He's going to need to adjust the C's for the caster.
Yep.
He's going to need to kind of figure out
rotate the axle for the pinion.
Mm-hmm. So I think I'm just going to hand it all off to him, because the reed knuckle C's, they're designed to be heated up and then almost a press fit onto the axle housing, the tube. And then when they cool down, they shrink on, and they're supposed to shrink on so much that you technically don't really have to weld them. Welding them is just kind of like an extra security. And so I'm once they're on there, I don't think that Ori will be able to get them off or loosen them up to rotate them and set the correct caster and pinion angles.
True.
So I'm just going to hand it all over to him and let him set it up rather than...
Yeah, I think that's smart.
Yeah.
Because I think there's, in regards to articulating the axle during suspension travel, you might have to play with the caster and pinion angles as well. So
yeah,
I think that having those separate for when he's setting it all up is better.
I agree. So as much as I want to put together the axle, because it's fun learning about the axles, I think in order to make Ori's life easier, I'm just going to hand it over to him.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's all my updates so far.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a good chunk of updates right there.
Yeah,
it
it
sounds
was.
like you had a fun weekend too.
I did. I had a really fun weekend, and I might be going out again this weekend. So
Excellent.
yes.
Yeah, not sure what we're doing this weekend.
Yeah. Well, I know what you could be doing.
Yeah,
We'll
I like the idea.
talk off air. Yep. All right, man. So cool. That's it. You guys heard about how to get in contact with us earlier in the episode. So if you forgot, you can rewind or find another episode, because we usually go over it over at the end of the episodes. Might be easier to find there. So I'll skip that, and we'll just go straight to figuring out what Jimmy has to leave everybody with here.
Corrosion.
And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you. Ooh.
Okay.
What does a clock do when it is still hungry?
Does it eat seconds?
Nice. Not too bad. It goes back 4 seconds.
There it goes back. Okay. That one's a little bit better.
You almost had it though.
Almost. I was almost
good.
there. I'm getting better at this.
Yeah, you are.
You're
proud
just
of you.
saying that. No, you're not.
After we're like 200 and something episodes. Finally getting in the groove.
Oh, man.